I'm not hearing anything. Always love when the soundbar didn't.
Is the volume up on both ends, on both on the iPad and on the soundboard?
You want me to know if it's really working? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yeah.
Wow.
Had to clear my throat.
It's kind of crazy that it's. Can you hear us, Josh?
Yeah, I can hear you guys, and I can hear the intro music, but it sounds like it's coming through your guys' mics. Like it's playing out of
We're not even hearing it in here. I barely heard something in the background for about a half
What are you
a
doing
second.
to us?
Okay, I'm going to start it, and you can put that in there anyway.
Yeah.
And hang on one second here.
You're clicking like crazy in the headsets.
You're going to have to renegotiate our contract.
Okay, I'll double your pay.
Yeah. Wow, that was quick. That was fast.
That was easy.
Hey, Mitchell, thanks for telling me that. Hey, we got the soundboard clicking. We got to love that. Live radio, folks. It's we're going to get started here in about 2 seconds because it's called operator error, and sometimes the microphones don't work as well. And then Mitchell's giving us all the inside information. He's telling me to turn off the sound. Mitchell doesn't want us to talk today, so we're not going to talk, but we're going to talk here for a minute while we can chat here, and then as soon as I get a couple of things working better, we'll be able to get Josh to do his magic for the actual radio show when it comes to helping our friends over there at KMET ABC News and Talk. So the benefit of doing this in the morning, early on in the morning, is that you can go right now and go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, StreamYard.com/Facebook, and you'll be able to join our conversation. Now, when we get started here, you're going to recognize that I do have Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton here. You may not want to join that conversation. There are many people that walk out of the room. Whoa, now that we've got that working, I've just blew Josh's ears out for those of you that are on radio, but I'm going to hit my restart over here, and we'll be able to get rolling right now.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Radio Show, only on Financial News and Talk. Now live in studio, your host, local and national real estate expert and consumer advocate, Ron Siegel.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion. There are a lot of dots to connect when you're talking about confusion and this show. But we do connect the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take on your family, your business, can benefit from current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We're a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. But before we get into our intriguing content today, please join me in welcoming our featured guests. Yeah, they're here.
I'm cuckoo and you're cuckoo, so let's take a chance to do a new dance. Well, I'm cuckoo and you're cuckoo, sing la 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 la. All the folks have all gone wild.
Okay, that's enough. Give those guys too much time. Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton are in the house. We're going to talk about What happens if you got a overpriced home? Now, what do you do? James, I'm glad to have you with us. Wow. I don't know which one of you is really, really old, James, and I'm going to start right there because one of the beauties of doing live radio and having people being able to pipe in, but Blake was my first broker 300 years ago, and he's a great guy. So now, which one of those
the other day?
Which one of those is false? 300 years ago or a great guy? Only well,
Probably both.
30 years ago, first broker. Wow. Okay. Well,
Wow, sweet. Thank you.
we got a lot to say now. James, just watch the mailbox. I think Blake will be sending you that check as a thank you for saying something about a great guy.
Great guy.
Josh, do we have a sound bite for "There's a first for everything"? I don't know, but hey, we'll find
Name him Great Guy.
great guy. Okay, we'll call him great
Okay.
guy.
I'm blushing.
You are. You do that.
James,
well.
James, I saw it was 30. I was just harassing Blake. Whenever he's in the studio, we do find a way of harassing him. That's why we've got the walk-up music for Blake and Jim. So that's why we have that walk-up music for them. Hey, let me remind you, if you ever have any more finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you. And you can reach out to me directly, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Well, I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money. I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And there might be a few people that believe that we started our celebrations early today as you listen to us. National Irish Coffee Day.
Yay.
Now, I ordered an Irish coffee about a week or so ago. And for some reason, the waitress looked at me kind of odd, which is pretty normal. I said, Irish coffee, hold the coffee. Yeah, Jim understands that part. So we'll just throw that one in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but you were at McDonald's.
I was at McDonald's.
Yeah, they don't have Irish coffee.
Okay. So let's take a quick run around the market. Whoa! If my computer is accurate here, we're starting to see a big turnaround in the market today. Dow Jones Industrial Average now down 192 points. The S&P 500 is down 33, and the Nasdaq is down 132. So that's fascinating. When I left to come to the studio, the stock market was down about 400 as measured by the Dow Jones Industrial Average. A little bit of even though Microsoft is growing and gaining ground, didn't like the idea that it's taking market share from Amazon in cloud services. So that we'll watch and see where that is heading. And I'm not going to even do gas prices today, but I want to chat with you just a little bit before we get into our conversation with our guests because it's personal. So when I started doing radio in 2010, I looked at it and said, okay, we're going to do a radio show. I'm a mortgage guy, and I was doing 1 hour a week. And we looked at it and said, what are we going to talk about on mortgages for an hour a week? So we said, okay, that might get boring, even for me as the mortgage guy. Then when we moved up and we grew up to our 3-hour Friday show plus our Sunday show, 3 hours talking mortgages. I don't even think I have a snooze button on here or a snoring button on here, but it would have been me snoring. Didn't want to do that. And now we're doing the broadcast 6 days a week. Could you imagine talking about mortgages 6 days a week? No, I couldn't. So what did I want to do? I was a younger man then because it was 2010. And I said, our radio program is going to be, what do I want to know about? As a sandwich generation, right? I've got 4 aging parents. I've got 3 kids, not even in college yet. What do I want to know about? And we started doing the broadcast about what I want to know about. So we got into estate planning. We got into taxes. We got into college planning. We've got into, I didn't need it. Still don't, thank goodness. Divorce planning. I can't afford it. Dealt with that. We've talked about all kinds of insurance. I've never thought in my life I'd have a criminal lawyer that I would like, a criminal defense lawyer that I would like. Learned about criminal defense law because, there are some of us, not me, that have needed a criminal lawyer for DUIs. So we've had a criminal attorney on with a limousine company owner. Talked about all sorts of things. And it dawned on me as I reflected in the last few days, we just lost the last of our 4 parents. And I've never done a radio broadcast about what now, right? A loved one dies. What do you do from a what next from a financials perspective? I'm not getting into the religion or the emotions. From a financial perspective. If you have questions on that, send them to me, rj@ronsiegelradio.com, rj@ronsiegelradio.com. Attorney and CPA Alton Moore will be with us next Wednesday, and we're going to tackle the subject. What next? So, we're getting into some really, it's emotional for people. I know that, but if you don't plan, crazy. So we're gonna get into that issue of it. We'll chat about that. Okay, so unbelievable. It's a lot going on, but right now we're also seeing, and I'm going to kick off something we're going to be doing quite a bit over the next couple of months with a couple of experts. Don't let them hear me that I said that, but. We had a massive run-up in real estate values over the last 2 years. Some people may have thought that, they had to just buy anything and everything, and now they may be sitting back saying, I paid too much for my house. What do I do now? So we're going to chat about that. We're going to learn. So we're going to bring in some experts, but today we got experts to kick off the series, Blake Vartanian, Jim Norton. Both of them have been around over a century. I mean, they've both been doing real estate. This is second century for each of you guys right now, right?
Second century.
In the second century of doing real estate.
We both overpaid for houses.
And they both overpaid for houses.
Mhm.
Does it matter? So we're going to talk about that. The other thing that we're going to chat about is, what do you do in a changing market? How do you navigate a changing market? There's a lot of folks out there, especially real estate professionals, or call themselves professionals, and they went and they got a license so that they could save a commission. I'm just calling a spade a spade. They didn't want to pay the money because they thought they could do it on their own. Well, now they're going to have to figure out, how do you do it on your own, and why do you want to lose your money when you're doing it on your own? So we're going to talk about all these different things with Jim Norton and Blake Vartanian when we come back. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. We got a lot to chat about, so we'll talk about that. If my soundboard and my pages will come up. Why you shouldn't fear today's foreclosure headlines. What did Goldman Sachs just say? 25% haircut on real estate values? But the media's lying to you. They didn't tell you the whole story, and I will. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
79% of all credit reports have errors that should be corrected through factual disputing. You could be saving thousands every year if your report was accurate. CreditSanitizer.com provides a free credit report audit when you furnish a specific $1 credit report. You can use this information to request corrections to your report and potentially save thousands of dollars. Get your free credit audit at CreditSanitizer.com. That's CreditSanitizer.com for a free credit report audit. CreditSanitizer.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Thanks, James. I appreciate that. That's very kind of you. The Mortgage Minute brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make the call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Just came out with a new proprietary product at Geneva, 100% financing. It's coming back. Down payment assistance. We'll talk about that. But let's take a look and see the Dow Jones the S&P 500 is now down 33.56. And every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. Loans locked yesterday, 6.17 on the 30-year conforming. Jumbo 6.36, FHA 6.25, USDA 6.33, and the best loan on the market for those that earned it, the VA loan 30 years, 5.947. And we will look and see as soon as my computer wakes up here. 10-year Treasury. Now we're looking at the 10-year Treasury being right in a very tight trading range. Easy for me to speak. I haven't been doing radio for, not for a few days. 10-year Treasury, flat, 3.469. Mortgage-backed securities, call it flat, up 5 basis points. That's the bond, which means that the yields are going down very, very little. But why? There's not a whole lot of news coming out. So what's driving it? Well, we've got mortgage applications. Last week, they were up 25% on purchase activity. This week, they're up 3%. Interest rates, according to the Mortgage Bankers Association, decreased from 6.23 to 6.2. They were 3.75 last year at this time. So that's not what's driving the market. We are seeing, I told you a little bit about Microsoft earlier. They don't drive the bond market a whole heck of a lot, but they're out there, and that's driving the overall market because they are such a big mover. But everybody's sitting there. They're just waiting. So here's the issue. Whenever you get a day like this where there's not a lot of news in the markets, it's technical analysis that drives the markets. And we're sitting, nobody wants to hear this, but between a 200-day average and a Fibonacci level, and it's all kinds of fancy stuff that would bore even the most technical of people. So I'm just going to tell you that there's a lot of technical issues going on, and the market is waiting for the PCI or the CPI report on Friday. That's the bottom line. That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by our friends at Geneva Financial. When you're ready for that next home loan, Geneva's got the programs and the products. You just need to make a call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. So would it be fair to say that yeah, Joe, you're right. I know. I'll have to get you a thesaurus or a dictionary so you can technical analysis, lots of big words. Hey, Joe, you're the one that taught me. If you use the big words, people think you know what you're talking about. So I'll have to try a little harder. I know. Before you get to it, they know I don't know what I'm talking about. 12 years doing this. So 2 years ago, I heard a lot of people that said, I want to buy a house, and the big frustration was they couldn't get their offers accepted. Every house, you put it on the market. You didn't really need a real estate agent to get the house sold. Contract to close, if you want to protect yourself, probably a good idea. To avoid litigation, hire a great realtor so they could help you through that process. But the bottom line was bid it up as much as you could afford. And, who cares what the price is as long as you can afford it? We'll worry about the pricing later. Well, I just want my house. And we did that in 2020. We did that in 2021. And we did that for the first 3 months of 2022. And then interest rates doubled throughout the rest of the year. And folks started looking back and saying, I paid $1 million for a house and it's worth $900,000 right now. That real estate agent didn't do me any good. Always got to blame somebody, right? It wasn't them that found the property. It wasn't them that said, hey, this is what I want. Just like it's the mortgage guy, right? They got me approved. Why did they get me approved? Because now I can't even sell my house, right? So what happens? What's going to happen? The property now, most areas, properties have not dropped 10%. No matter what they want to tell you. Let's get a little bit of background on that one. median home price. When you listen to the media, what they're going to tell you is the median home price dropped by 10%. Now, you guys have been selling real estate, what, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years?
42 for me.
42.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever sold a median home?
I've never actually hit that number.
Right? So, and before I go too far, Jim Norton, Blake Vartanian, Realty Pro 100. Nobody sells median priced homes. What is a median priced home? It's not even an average priced home. And I asked the late Essie Adibi, he was a great economist over at Chapman University, why do we use median priced homes? He says, Ron, it sucks. Essie was pretty straightforward guy. It sucks. It's worthless, but it's continuing. So what he meant by that, and he went on to explain, was for the last 20 years, we've used a median price. So we're going to keep using a median price because we've done it for the last 20 years. So we can look and say 20 years ago, this was the median price. 15 years ago, this was the median price. So you can keep looking at that same number over and over again and find out about the median price. What is median? Half the homes sold above it, half the homes sold below it. When we got into a distressed market in 2008, 9, 10, well, median prices dropped because prices were dropping. Values were dropping then too, but it was because of the mix of what was being sold. Right now, median prices may be going up, but we're not selling the low-end inventory. We're selling the high-end inventory, so prices go up. No one sells median home prices. When you're looking at values, look at FHFA. It's going to give you a much better representation. But right now, the median priced home, Orange County, California, is $1,067,000. Now, I will admit it has come down. Last time you guys were on the show, I think it was $1,069,000. Right? So that's a major problem. But
it's dropping like a rock.
It's dropping like a rock, right? Yeah. So the bottom line is, but people still want houses. So right now, I'm going to just tell you this. If you want to wait to what happened in 2021 and 2020, you can wait, right? Mm-hmm. And if interest rates drop, you're going to get back into the same bidding wars.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to be competing with 25 or 30 other offers.
Same frustration.
End it back up. Yeah.
So, okay, so now the person that you sold a house to, a few years back, what are you telling them if they see that their neighbor just lowered the price below what they paid for it? What are you saying?
Well, the advice might be different depending on the circumstance, right? So if somebody's not interested in selling, it really doesn't matter in that moment what's happening, because it's like owning stock. If you're not selling the stock, the valuation variance doesn't make much difference to you if you're not bringing that onto the market.
So let me throw this back at you then, Blake, mm-hmm. Because one of the things I talk about all the time is if I'm not selling the stock, I like it going down because I can buy more.
Absolutely. And then average it,
right.
Bring down your average cost.
But I can't do that with my house. I can't buy another. I don't want to buy my neighbor's house because I really don't need two houses right next to each other.
Well, I'm not advocating that prices drop. Okay, I'm just saying that when it does, we have to keep it in right perspective.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's going to be, over the course of time. I always go back over a 10-year horizon. So the one thing we get with experience is the ability to look back and see what's happened trend-wise.
Okay.
And having lived through it. It doesn't forecast the future, but it tells us that at any given time, you can go back 10 years, and at no point 10 years ago was the cost of the property more than it is today.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is if we wait that 10-year
or some version of a horizon. So because everything in society is getting more, other few exceptions, but most things are affected by inflation.
Sure.
And real
eggs
estate
are now $10 a dozen.
And so real estate is a hedge against inflation. So that's what it's always been.
Sure.
So what drove the last cycle so high is that mortgage rates came down and made payments very affordable. So people went, I got so much money to put down. I have so much I can make a monthly payment. And as long as I can deal with those two, I don't really care what the price tag is. They were buying the same way you buy a car, right? If
Sure.
that can be a $70,000 car, but if the dealer's saying that you can drive off with $1,000 drive off and it's $299 a month plus tax, title, and license, you're going to have a higher likelihood of buying that $70,000 car because
Sure.
of the terms they're offering.
Sure. And Joe's here saying that, he can do that, but it's going to be a 100-year loan or something like that.
Yeah, of course.
But no, what I want to get to, though, is because, Blake, you made a great point there. So I was actually out, not me, but I'm just saying hypothetically, I was out buying that $1 million house. And I don't know what the numbers are because I'm not going to run them. But, so I got a $3,500 payment. Well, that was just really good fortune for me. Regardless of what that house does, I probably in a normal market having interest rates at a normal interest rate level of about 7%, 6.5%. Historically, there's 6-7 is right, I think probably more of a norm right on interest rates. So that house probably should have been costing me $7,000. I probably couldn't have afforded it. So I probably, even if the price drops to $950, my mortgage is staying the same, and I still couldn't have afforded even a $950 with today's mortgage rates.
True.
Is that kind of?
That makes perfect sense.
So the bottom line is, are you worried about having a property value? You're actually better off because you probably, under normal interest rates, you probably could only have afforded a $600,000 house that was appreciating. And I'm going to just use that are from Black Knight. They tell us they're forecasting a 4.16% appreciation next year, but 7.33 over the last. I can't use these numbers. I'm just going to say 5%. Right.
That's historically what we've talked about before.
So the $600,000 house, if it went up 5%, is that 30,000?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the $1 million house is going up 5% is 50,000.
Mm-hmm.
So even if the price dropped a little bit, you're still better off because you're in a house that's more than what you could have afforded in the first place, and it's appreciating faster than what you would have expected, and you can still afford it.
Well, and there was a time when real estate was not looked upon as the asset that was to appreciate. I mean, most items
Not at the speed.
Most items depreciate, right? I mean, you can own real estate as an investment and you get depreciation in the tax treatment for a reason, because historically, most assets depreciate over time and become less functional, less valuable. But real estate has been commoditized, and
that means I must be an asset because I've been less functional and less.
I can relate to a few of those letters myself, but
okay.
We're gonna continue our conversation talking about you bought a house, you got an overpriced home. Now what? We're gonna continue that conversation with Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton when we come back. You can reach me anytime off air, number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio, your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily home and finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule an appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. I do multitask a lot on the radio. James, I'm going to look at your message here in just a minute, and we will talk about it because I like the content that you have. So, but I would want to tell you the real-time real estate segment is brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Great information about the value of property. Kind of like your 401k, though. You don't need to look at it every day, but we will send you. I hear these sounds in my head. I think they make these. They always get me. Oh, sorry. So the question today is why you should not fear today's foreclosure headlines. That's an interesting one, which kind of ties in with Goldman Sachs, that teaser that I shared with you a little bit earlier about Goldman Sachs. So Goldman Sachs came out with a report saying property values are going, the city's likely to see a boom and bust declines of 25% or more. So that was Goldman Sachs. And all the headline that I saw this morning said, Goldman predicts 25% declines in real estate. They forgot the subtitle, with not closed caption, but the subtitle that says, in San Jose, San Diego, Phoenix, and Austin. Well, those cities, we've talked about that over and over again. Those cities had some major appreciation or in price increases. Was it overheated during the last couple of years? Probably. So anytime something goes up 30%, it can go down 30%. So be careful. Why you shouldn't fear today's foreclosure headlines. That is our subject. If you've seen recent headlines about foreclosures surging in the housing market, you're certainly not alone. There's no doubt the stories in the media can be pretty confusing right now. They even make you think twice about buying a home for fear that prices could crash. The reality is the data shows a foreclosure crisis is not where the market is headed, and understanding that really is mission critical if you want to know the truth about what's happening today. Here's a deeper look. According to the year-end 2022 U.S. foreclosure market report from Adam, it's a data research company, foreclosure filings are up 115% from 2021, but down 34% from 2019. As media headlines grab onto this 115% increase, it's more important than ever to put the percentage into context. While the number of foreclosure filings did more than double last year, we need to remember what happened and how it compares to normal pre-pandemic years in the market. Thanks to the forbearance program and other relief options for homeowners, foreclosures filings were down to record low levels in 2020 and 2021. So any increase last year is no surprise, a jump up. Rick Sharga, Executive VP of Market Intelligence at Adam, notes, quote, 18 months ago, the end of the government's foreclosure moratorium, and with less than 5% of the 8.4 million borrowers who entered CARES Act forbearance program remaining, foreclosure activity remains significantly lower than it was prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. It seems clear that government and mortgage industry efforts during the pandemic, coupled with a strong economy, have helped prevent millions of unnecessary foreclosures, unquote. Clearly, these options meant millions of homeowners could stay in their homes, allowing them to get back on their feet during a very challenging period. With home values rising at the same time, many homeowners who may have found themselves facing foreclosure under other circumstances were able to leverage their equity, sell their houses rather than face foreclosure. And that trend continues today. And remember, if you're watching us on ronsiegelradio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk AM 1490 video feed, foreclosures, we got a chart here. Foreclosures today are far below the record high 2.9 million that were reported in 2010 when the housing market crashed. 2.9 million versus last year, 324,000. Way down. So while foreclosures are rising, keeping perspective in mind is key. As Bill McBride, founder and author of Calculated Risk, noted just last week, quote, the bottom line is there will be an increase in foreclosures over the next year from record low levels, but there will not be a huge wave of distressed sales as happened following the housing bubble. The distressed sales during the housing bust led to cascading price declines, and that will not happen this time, unquote. Bottom line, right now, putting the data into context is more important than ever. While the housing market is experiencing an expected rise in foreclosures, it's not the crisis level that the media wants you to believe. And if you have any friends, family, or coworkers thinking about buying, selling, or borrowing on real estate, can I count on you to give me a call? Introduce them to me. We'll put together a game plan for them. Just throw that out there. That's the real-time real estate segment brought to you by the area trusted real estate professionals of Ron Siegel Radio. Visit rsrhomescout.com, rsrhomescout.com. Continue our conversation. We are chatting with Blake Vartanian and Jim Norton, Realty Pro 100. And if you listen to us during the breaks, hopefully the mics are not on, so you're not listening to us.
I didn't say it. I deny it.
Well, we deny everything, although it is recorded, and Josh has the backup data.
You get your
So
payment, Josh.
Josh will be expecting those paychecks.
Yeah.
So, Jim, you made a comment, because you're right. We did We said that we weren't going to talk about
Well,
median prices, and then we did. So
yeah, you
talk
guys
about.
were-
What you,
I mean, you led with the economist from Chapman saying that don't pay attention to the median number, and yet you guys, everybody does it. The news does it, and people are ingrained about it. But they go down that rabbit hole of, oh, prices are falling because the median went down. But did your neighborhood go down? Do you know? I mean, it's spotty at best. It depends on where you're standing. So bottom line is, I was saying, is that if you bought your house correctly, even if you bid it up and you maintain good.
what does it mean to buy a house correctly?
Well, you did your down payment. You know, you didn't stretch everything you could.
Okay.
Okay, so you didn't stretch just take your house payment.
You stayed in.
You stayed within the 30 to 40% range. You didn't go to 60% of your income to get that house, because at that point somebody should have waved you off, and somebody should have sat you down and talked to you about, what are you doing? If your income shortens, you're at 60%. You can't afford eggs. Well, eggs right now, what are they? $14 a dozen? $14 a dozen. It's unbelievable. I was at Costco yesterday. No eggs. It's like, what's the egg thing going on? So, anyways, that's another subject. But the point being, if you bought it correctly and you're within your means, then you're just going to be riding the curve. So, as in the last crash, 2005, you quoted earlier, that's cleared itself by 2008. Prices had bottomed. By 2013, 5 years later, prices were up above where it bottomed, and we're coming up. You know.
So throw this out at you. This is James put this on the socials. Of a homeowner who bought in the last 3 years could resell their home along with the interest rate that they bought it at. They would recognize the value that they truly have, and they could probably sell it for more.
Yeah, but you can't sell the interest rate.
Can't get that interest rate.
That was the key. So the interest rates are key.
But let's change the scenario, the hypotheticals. So if that interest rate was there, do you think that the prices would keep appreciating? Is it the interest rate that's causing the problem?
It's one of the causes. There's no such thing as one particular cause.
Okay.
It's a multiple of causes. Right now, would the market be dropping if the interest rates were low? I think the market would be in its winter mode. I definitely agree that winter is here and we would settle down. I think a lot of people want to see which way the job market's going to go. I mean, there are a lot of jobs, but a lot of companies are laying off. So I think it was Goldman Sachs, 10,000 people. 8% of their workforce. That's a pretty sizable cut. So if you're
when they went and started working at home and they realized that what they weren't doing,
right?
I think now the companies are coming back to work in the offices. I think Twitter, when they laid off 75% of their people and they still are operating just fine.
Right.
You start saying, "Wow, I wonder how much fat we have."
Right.
No, don't look at me about that part of it.
But so you're correct. So that would be a net effect. But let's get back to economics 101, supply and demand. We still have no supply, or very little supply, and we still have demand. Maybe not as great a demand, but we still have demand. Do you remember how many transactions were in December? We're going to know January here pretty soon, but
it was
in Orange County. I was just trying to get a guesstimate. What is the average? About
in CRMLS, I believe it was around 16,000. It was off about 50% from the same period a year ago for the month of December.
Right.
40% off. Wow.
Somewhere in that neighborhood, between 42 and 50%, depending on the geographic area of Southern California.
Right. But so 50% is still a lot. I mean, it's like somebody said the other day, Elon Musk lost 100. What did he lose? 50 billion or something because of the Tesla drop in stock. And they said you're looking at it wrong. He still has 160 billion in his pocket. You know what I mean?
So what you're saying there?
Same thing. There's still people buying, and they're just snatching up what.
So let's bring that down, because other than you, Jim, I don't know anybody that has as much money as Elon Musk.
I don't.
Right. So
I wish I had.
So let's bring it back to the average man and woman. So if their house was a $700,000 house, and it dropped to 680,
use 5%.
Does it really matter?
No, it doesn't. If they're
not selling,
right? They're not selling, like Blake said earlier. That's actually a good example. If you're not selling it, why are you concerned about it? Because It's only when you start to sell. Let's say you're the
Now let's talk about this other part of it then. Let's take it to the next step because, okay, so now it's down at 700 goes down to 680, whatever. I mean,
Right.
it's not going to go down a lot. But if you've been doing what we've been talking about for the last 12 years, right? You're harvesting your equity anytime possible. And now you can go out there and buy another property because it's 5% cheaper,
correct.
right?
You're gonna
Or buy another, and you can, and I'm going to share this with you. Buy another primary residence. I'm going to tell you why when we come back.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate current events and the financial markets. Reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the number 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Is your budget getting blown up with high prices of gas and increased costs for other household needs? This is Ron Siegel, host of the daily home and finance radio program. Did you know if you have a low interest rate mortgage along with auto debt, credit card debt, or student loans, your family could potentially save $500 or more per month by restructuring these debts? If you'd like a free Borrow Smart analysis with our team, let's book an appointment to see how we might be able to relieve some stress. Schedule your appointment at rsrbsa.com. That's rsrbsa.com for your free Borrow Smart analysis. rsrbsa.com.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. We're not going to do a Your Credit Matters segment today because we've been talking. Well, I've been talking too much. Your Credit Matters brought to you by creditsanitizer.com. You have a credit report and it is wrong. What are you doing about it? Credit Sanitizer has the programs and the products. You just need to make a call, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. So let's continue this conversation. Blake Vartanian, Jim Norton, Realty Pro 100. And we are talking about you got an overpriced home or youth. Now, here's the question. The topic, our subject, our headline, you got an overpriced home. Now what? What makes you say the house was overpriced? Right? So I've been talking about this for the last 12 years. Don't sell. I'm generally, now I know I talk to probate and trust and all those things all the time. And I hear people that say we've got to sell it because of a probate or a trust or a divorce. Those are catalysts that in many instances require a sale. But for the most part, there's alternatives to selling. And the biggest alternative, and the reason I like not selling is because Blake said it earlier. Never been a 10-year period when property didn't go up. Right? So if I'm lucky enough to be on this side of the sidewalk 10 years from now, my properties are going to be worth more. That's a good thing. If not, my kids can take them and they'll be worth more for them. That's a good thing. And I don't have to pay taxes on it. And that's a good thing.
Ron, I look at it that 40 years ago in 1981, 82, 83, people would walk away from an opportunity because it was $500 overpriced.
Right.
And now if we could go back in time, we'd buy every property that was $500 overpriced if we could afford it and have it in our inventory and have made what, 5-7 times what we paid for it?
At least. Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And you'd be a genius.
Yeah. So here, before we went to break, my comment was you should be harvesting money all the time. Don't leave equity in real estate. It gives you a 0 rate of return. Harvest the money. And when interest rates drop, harvest more money. That way, at times like this, if properties were down 5%, is it harder, or Jim, you'll probably know this one because I know, Blake, you're talking to a lot of agents all the time. Jim, you're out in the front line. Is it harder or easier today to acquire a piece of property than it was a year and a half ago.
Absolutely easier.
A lot easier.
A lot easier. Your sellers are very cooperative. And
they're looking to get rid of it. They've got a reason to sell right now. Nobody's
Right.
selling a property that has a 3.5% or 4% mortgage because they want to.
right, because
There's
they
a
can't
need.
afford it. They're selling right.
There's
That
some
need.
sort of a need. There's a catalyst.
Right, but they're
So they're willing to
selling. They're
help.
selling because they're retiring. They're selling because they're maybe moving up. They might be selling
Relocation.
the town. Well, I was thinking from the townhome to the single families or small single
There's a
family to a
catalyst, though.
larger. Yeah, there's a catalyst.
Now, if you
They're
keep
not-
that last
right.
one, you keep the last one, and buy a new primary, you're gonna get a lot easier to get the loan.
Yes, absolutely. You know that from the lending side, but from an acquisition side, that's exactly what's the time to do is look for a better primary residence as opposed to looking for a rental property.
Sure.
And maybe you're only going to move a block, but that doesn't matter. That just
Buy low.
means you can move in laundry baskets. But you don't have to get a
Sometimes
moving
that's harder to move.
You don't
Like,
have
it's
to get a
something-
moving van, is what I'm saying. But if you're going to move across town, it's a great time to do it because, like you said, you don't have the amount of people out there bidding up a property.
Competition, less competition to buy.
You want to buy when everyone else is selling. I mean, that's that's right.
When
up
there's an
there.
imbalance of more sellers than buyers.
A little bit right now, but
No,
it's
that's
gonna,
when-
it's
that's
gonna
when you want to buy is when
right.
there's
That's when
more
you want.
sellers.
You want to
than
buy
there are
on the
buyers.
imbalance. You
Right.
never, everybody always talks about I want to buy at the bottom of the market, and it's like, and I want to sell at the top of the market. You don't know where the bottom is, and you don't know where the top
I
is
do.
until a year
You're-
later.
Oh no, I know exactly when.
Only one person buys at the top, and only one person buys at the
Exactly.
bottom. Everyone else is in between.
Best
bottom
time to
line
sell
is-
your house is going to be about 100 years from now.
Yeah, the bottom
The
line.
next
is
best
the
time
balance.
is when you need to.
Yeah.
The bottom
Right.
line. It's top and bottom.
So here's
is the
another
balance.
question we've got. The question is, if loans were transferable, would the prices continue to go up?
So here's
That used to be.
the article that I read in about October, and when interest rates were hitting their peak around September. Remember, it was like 7%, and everybody was, everything was starting to come to a real dramatic slowdown for several weeks. And what the article said was that this is the equivalent of 20% appreciation.
Blake hasn't been coming and listening to us very often because it was November 4th, Blake.
Okay,
Okay.
November 4th.
Just
Okay.
harassing him.
Well, that
7.4
might have been the peak, but I'm saying is that,
7.144.
but I'm saying is
I'm just
in
kidding.
October I read the article that said that it was the equivalent of prices appreciating 20%, but instead of it going to the seller for the appreciation, it was now going to the lender in the form of higher costs. So to the person buying it, it was the equivalent of them having to face a market that was 20% higher, just in the cost to get into the market. And I didn't blog about it. I didn't write about it. I just thought, okay, this will settle out over time.
Sure.
Right. Because the federal government always overreacts. It's just historical. And it's
The
kind of
media goes with that, too.
hysterical. And so sometimes you have to just wait a minute, right? Just take a pause and let things settle out. So we talked about this in our leadership meeting and our support team meeting on Tuesday. And on March 1st at 11 o'clock, we're going to do a lunch and learn here at our office for the industry, not for the consumers. We're going to invite all the real estate agents, mortgage people are welcome. And we're going to talk around the whole idea of how to build wealth in this market, because no one's teaching it, right? Most people come into real estate, they're taught how to sell a house, but they're not taught how to build a portfolio for themselves as real estate professionals. And they leave the business with little or nothing to show for their years of demonstrating their professionalism to others. And so this is going to be more of a focus on how do we leave the industry and with the legacy for our families, because we take care of so many other families during our journey.
What day is that?
March the 1st at 11 o'clock. And there'll be many notices to the industry. And, walk into the office. There's no judgment about what company you work at. It's not a recruiting event. That's not what we're doing. We're all about education and sharing, because when more of us understand it, it makes the business a lot more fun to be in when I pick up the phone and I call a colleague in another company and they already know what we're talking about.
100%. Hey, so there's couple of other directions we can go with this question that James posed. If loans were transferable, would the prices continue to go up? Maybe the loans are transferable. There are several types of loans out there that are transferable right now. And if you go to rsrbuydown.com, BUYDOWN, rsrbuydown.com, you'll be able to see. I was just chatting with somebody yesterday about how to get a loan started in the 2% range today. Think about that concept. How to get a loan started in the 2% range today. rsrbuydown.com, rsrbuydown.com. I actually did a whole set. We did it on radio, a segment on buy downs. And there are a lot of ways. And there's a way you can actually get a new loan started today that starts out in the 2s. So if you want that, VA loans, those are already transferable. FHA loans, in many instances, transferable.
You have to be VA to VA, or
VA to VA, yeah.
Right.
You're moving the
don't forget that
eligibility from
caveat.
one.
It's
Yeah,
VA
there's
to
all
VA.
kinds of, you got to get all the guidelines for it. And that's what we do at Ron Siegel Radio. Just give us a call, RJ at Ron, or text RJ at Ron Siegel. Email would be RJ at RonSiegelRadio.com. Or you can call me at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Team would be happy to get you the information on all of those. So just give us a call. We're here to educate. We're here almost every weekday, 9 a.m. And the broadcast is on ABC News and Talk AM 1490 from 6 to 7 p.m. I got to look at the banner behind me because it says that. I've got brain freeze, I know. And we ask you to set that first radio preset button to come back here and join us every day at the same time. It's just giving you some great information, whatever we can do to help get you the great information that we need. So be sure to set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, call me anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.